Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of planning for a secure and fulfilling retirement. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic: how to retire early with low expenses.
Yeah, that's right, Emily. Many people dream of retiring early, but the thought of managing expenses can feel a bit daunting, you know?
Absolutely, but it doesn't have to be. We're going to share some practical strategies that can help you achieve that dream without breaking the bank.
We'll touch on things like creating a budget that works for your lifestyle, exploring different income sources, and even some ways to cut down on everyday costs.
And let's not forget about the importance of having a solid financial plan that aligns with your goals, right?
Exactly. It's all about being prepared and informed so you can make the best choices for your future.
So if you're thinking about making the leap to early retirement, or if you're already on that path and looking to tighten things up, this episode is definitely for you.
Let's jump right in and start with some foundational tips, like how to assess your current financial situation and identify areas where you can save.
Sounds great. So where do we begin, David?
You know, Emily, when we think about retiring early with low expenses, it really hits home for a lot of people right now, especially given the current economic climate.
Absolutely, David. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty out there, right? Inflation is a big concern, and it can really shake up retirement plans.
Yeah, exactly. Inflation affects everything: groceries, healthcare, utilities, and when you're on a fixed income, those rising costs can feel overwhelming. Just last week, I spoke to a couple who planned to retire at 62, but they're now reconsidering because their budget just doesn't stretch as far as they thought it would.
Right, and that's so relatable. I think a lot of people are feeling that pinch. Some are even pushing their retirement timelines back, which can be really stressful.
Definitely. And then you have to factor in market volatility. The stock market has had its ups and downs, so if someone had planned to rely heavily on investments for income, they might be feeling pretty anxious right now.
Yeah, back in 2008, so many people lost a significant portion of their savings. Just think of the emotional toll that took. People are still wary of market fluctuations.
Exactly. It's not just about the numbers. It's about peace of mind, too. I had a client recently who told me they just want to feel secure, you know? They want to enjoy their retirement without constantly worrying about whether their investments will hold up.
And that's where a solid plan comes in. But with all these economic trends, how do we make sure that plan is still effective?
Well, one critical aspect is tax efficiency. Many retirees overlook how taxes can impact their income, especially with changes in tax laws. For instance, if someone is planning to draw from their retirement accounts without considering the tax implications, they might find themselves in a higher tax bracket.
That's a great point. So they could end up paying more in taxes than they anticipated, which can eat into their retirement savings.
Right. I remember working with a single retiree who was surprised to find out how much taxes would take from her Social Security benefits. We did some planning around that, and it made a world of difference for her monthly budget.
That's so important. Speaking of Social Security, changes and adjustments to benefits can also play a role in how people plan for retirement these days.
Absolutely. It's crucial that folks understand how their benefits work and what's changing. For example, there are discussions about potential adjustments to the full retirement age, which could affect younger workers more than retirees.
And let's not forget about healthcare costs. They just keep rising, and those expenses can really add up.
No doubt. A recent study showed that a couple in their 60s could expect to spend around $300,000 on health care in retirement. That's a significant chunk of change.
Wow, that's eye-opening. So planning for those healthcare costs is essential, especially if you want to retire early?
Exactly. I often advise clients to set aside a specific health savings account or think about long-term care insurance. It can provide some cushion against those unexpected medical expenses.
And there's the emotional side of financial security in retirement, which we can't overlook.
Right. People often underestimate the psychological benefits of having a solid financial plan. When you know your expenses are covered, you can enjoy your time much more freely.
I can see how that would make a huge difference. There's a retired teacher I spoke with who said having a budget gave her a sense of freedom. She could travel and spend time with her grandkids without the constant worry of money.
That's a perfect example. And when it comes to legacy planning, it's not just about leaving money behind. It's about passing on values, experiences, and even financial literacy to the next generation.
Yes, That's so important. Many people want to leave a legacy, but they also want to ensure their loved ones are prepared for whatever comes next.
Exactly. And with the current economic trends, it's even more vital to set them up for success, both financially and emotionally.
So with all these considerations in mind, how can our listeners start implementing strategies to retire early while keeping their expenses low?
Well, the first step is to take a close look at your current expenses and prioritize what's essential versus what's discretionary.
That makes sense. It's like doing a financial detox, right?
Exactly. You'd be surprised at how many people can trim down their spending just by being more conscious about it. And then, setting up a budget that reflects those priorities can help keep expenses in check.
And what about income? How can they maximize their income streams during retirement?
Exploring different income sources is key. This could include part-time work, rental income, or even considering annuities for a steady stream of income.
Oh, and diversifying investments can help mitigate risks associated with market volatility, right?
Absolutely. A well-diversified portfolio can help smooth out those market bumps. It's all about balancing risk and return so people can feel more confident in their investments.
And I guess it's also important to review and adjust the plan regularly as life changes, right?
Yes, life is dynamic, and so should your retirement plan be. Regular reviews can help you stay on track and adjust for any unexpected changes or goals.
All great points, David. With some proactive planning and a little creativity, it's definitely possible to retire early and enjoy life without the financial stress.
Exactly, Emily. It's about being prepared and making informed decisions that align with your goals.
Well, I'm excited to dive deeper into these strategies with you next.
So, Emily, when we talk about retiring early with low expenses, one of the first things that comes to mind is, well, the importance of understanding your spending needs.
Absolutely, David. It's crucial to get a clear picture of what your monthly expenses are going to look like in retirement. You know, some people underestimate their living costs, especially if they haven't mapped it out.
Right, and a common rule of thumb is to aim for around 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. That's a good starting point, but remember, it really depends on your lifestyle and any changes you might anticipate.
Like travel or healthcare costs, right? Those can really add up as we get older.
Exactly. And speaking of healthcare, you might want to consider how Medicare fits into your plans. Understanding the ins and outs of Medicare and what it covers can help you project those expenses better.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about retiring before 65, that's a whole other ballgame with health insurance. You might have to budget for private insurance or COBRA, which can be quite pricey.
Definitely. Now, when we talk about funding that retirement, one of the key strategies is making the most of tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs.
Right. Those accounts allow your money to grow tax-deferred, which can really add up over time. But I think a lot of people don't fully grasp the difference between traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs.
Good point. With a traditional IRA, you get a tax deduction on contributions, but you'll pay taxes when you withdraw in retirement. Conversely, with a Roth IRA, you pay taxes up front, but your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free, assuming certain conditions are met.
So if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket later, a Roth might make more sense.
Exactly. And for younger retirees especially, the Roth can be a game changer. But then there's also the 401k match if your employer offers it, right? That's free money that you should definitely take advantage of.
Oh, for sure. I always tell people, if your employer matches contributions, you've got to maximize that. It's essentially like giving yourself a raise.
Now, let's talk about asset allocation. It's a fundamental part of your investment strategy. A common rule of thumb is the 100 minus your age rule for determining your stock-to-bond ratio.
So if you're 60, you'd want about 40% in stocks and 60% in bonds, right?
Yep, that's it. But keep in mind, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Depending on your risk tolerance and retirement timeline, you might want to adjust that mix.
And diversifying your investments is key too. It helps mitigate risk. Maybe having a mix of stocks, bonds, and even some real estate in there can create a more balanced portfolio.
Exactly, and real estate can be a great way to generate passive income in retirement. Some people choose to downsize and rent out their previous home, or even invest in rental properties.
That's a solid strategy. But, managing properties can be quite a commitment. Some folks might prefer simpler options like REITs, real estate investment trusts.
Right. REITs can provide exposure to real estate without the hassle of being a landlord. Plus, they often pay dividends, which can supplement your retirement income.
Speaking of income, let's not forget about Social Security. Understanding how to optimize your benefits can significantly impact your retirement finances.
Absolutely. The age at which you decide to start taking Social Security can make a big difference. If you take it early, you'll receive less each month. But if you wait until age 70, your benefits can increase significantly.
Yeah, I think the average increase is around 8% per year for each year you delay past your full retirement age. That's a pretty strong incentive to wait if you can afford to.
Exactly. And depending on your health and family history, it might make sense to crunch those numbers and see what's best for your situation.
Another thing to consider is withdrawal strategies. The 4% rule is a common guideline, but, it's not a hard and fast rule for everyone.
Right. The idea behind the 4% rule is that if you withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year, you're less likely to run out of money over a 30-year retirement.
That said, market conditions can fluctuate, so it might be wise to adjust your withdrawals based on your portfolio performance.
Exactly, and that's where strategies like the bucket strategy can come into play. You essentially divide your investments into different buckets, based on when you'll need to access the funds.
And that gives you a little more flexibility, right? Like, you might have a bucket for immediate expenses that's more conservative, and then a longer-term bucket that's more aggressive.
Yes, it helps you weather market volatility without freaking out when the market takes a dip.
And let's not overlook tax-saving techniques. Harvesting tax losses, for instance, can offset gains and reduce your tax liability.
Right. And being mindful of required minimum distributions, or RMDs, once you hit age 72 is crucial. Those can really impact your tax situation if you're not prepared.
It's all about planning ahead, isn't it? The more you understand these aspects, the better positioned you'll be for a successful retirement.
Exactly. But even with all this planning, there are still common pitfalls to watch out for.
Yeah, let's dive into that next. It's so easy to overlook certain elements when you're focused on the big picture.
All right, Emily. So let's dive into some common pitfalls that folks run into when they're planning for retirement. It's easy to overlook certain factors,
Absolutely, David. I think one of the biggest issues is the sequence of returns risk. A lot of people don't realize how critical it is, especially when they're withdrawing from their retirement accounts.
Right. So imagine you're in your early retirement years and the market takes a downturn. If you're withdrawing money during that time, it can really hurt your portfolio long term.
Yeah, it's like you're selling your investments at a loss, right? I've heard of retirees who had to adjust their lifestyle drastically because the market didn't cooperate when they needed it to.
Exactly. I had a client. Let's call him Tom. He retired in 2007, right before the financial crisis hit. He was withdrawing from his portfolio, but the market dropped significantly. It ended up delaying his plans for travel and other activities he was looking forward to.
That's such a tough situation. So what can people do to avoid that?
Well, one strategy is to have a cash reserve or a conservative allocation for the first few years of retirement. This way, they won't need to sell investments in a down market.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of cash flow, another common mistake I see is ignoring taxes in retirement withdrawals.
Oh, definitely. Many retirees underestimate how much taxes can eat into their income. They might think withdrawing from a 401k or traditional IRA is straightforward, but those funds are taxed as ordinary income.
Right, and then they're shocked when tax season rolls around, and they owe more than they expected.
Exactly. I had a couple who planned to travel extensively, but when they realized their tax bracket increased because of their withdrawals, they had to scale back.
That's frustrating. So, what's a good approach to avoid that tax surprise?
Planning ahead is key. It's important to have a strategy for withdrawals, like balancing between taxable and tax-deferred accounts. It can really impact their net income.
Smart advice, David. Now let's talk about healthcare. That's another area where people often underestimate their future costs.
Oh, for sure. Healthcare can be a huge expense in retirement. Many think Medicare will cover all their needs, but that's not always the case.
I've seen studies showing that a couple retiring at 65 might need over $300,000 just to cover healthcare costs in their retirement years.
Exactly. And longevity is another factor. People are living longer, which means those healthcare costs can stretch out over many years. I had a client, let's say her name is Sarah. She planned for a 20-year retirement, but ended up living into her 90s.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is. And she had to tap into her savings more than she anticipated because she didn't account for those extra years.
So what can retirees do to prepare for that?
Well, it's important to factor in healthcare costs early on. Consider long-term care insurance or other strategies that might mitigate those expenses.
That's really helpful. Now we should touch on another mistake: poor asset allocation.
Yes, many retirees stick to a conservative investment strategy, but they might be too conservative. They need some growth to protect against inflation.
Right, inflation can really erode purchasing power over time.
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him Mike. He was so worried about losing money that he kept everything in cash. After a few years, he realized he lost purchasing power because he wasn't growing his assets at all.
That's a real eye-opener.
It is. A balanced approach is crucial. It's about finding the right mix of investments that aligns with their risk tolerance and goals.
Speaking of not aligning with goals, let's discuss Social Security. A lot of people claim it too early, thinking they'll get more in the long run.
That's a common misconception. Claiming early can reduce benefits significantly. I had a couple. Let's call them Jim and Linda. They claimed at 62, thinking they'd maximize their benefits over time, but they ended up missing out on a lot because they didn't wait until their full retirement age.
So the lesson here is to consider waiting if possible, right?
Exactly. There's also the benefit of delayed retirement credits, which can increase their monthly benefit quite a bit.
And that can really add up over time.
It sure can. And all these pitfalls, they really have one thing in common: lack of preparation. Spotting red flags early is key.
So what should listeners look for to catch these issues before they become problems?
Well, first, look at your withdrawal strategy and do some projections based on different market scenarios. Ask yourself if you're prepared for taxes and healthcare costs.
That's a smart approach, being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. And regularly review your asset allocation as you approach retirement. You want to ensure it's still aligned with your goals.
Those are great tips, David.
Thanks, Emily. Just remember, it's all about planning ahead, being flexible, and adjusting as needed. Retirement doesn't have to be daunting if you take the right steps.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to make adjustments.
Right. It's all about being informed and making decisions that support your long-term happiness.
Well, that's a perfect segue into our next steps for listeners.
Yes. Let's talk about how to recover or avoid these pitfalls altogether. You know, Emily, one of the most immediate steps someone can take is to actually sit down and review their current financial situation.
Absolutely, David. I mean, just taking that first step can make such a big difference. They could start by gathering their financial statements, right?
Exactly. And looking at things like savings, investments, and any debts they might have. It's a great way to get a clear picture of where they stand.
And once they have that picture, they can use retirement calculators, like those from Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Those tools are super user-friendly.
Right. They allow you to input your data and see projections based on different scenarios. It's really eye-opening to see how small changes can impact your retirement timeline.
Speaking of tools, SSA.gov is another great resource. It's where you can check your Social Security benefits and get an estimate of what you might receive.
Yes, understanding your Social Security benefits is crucial. It's often a significant part of retirement income, so knowing that number helps in planning.
And don't forget about tax software, too. Tools like TurboTax or H&R Block can help you understand your tax situation, which is essential for retirement planning.
Definitely, because taxes can affect your withdrawal strategy. Knowing how much you're going to owe can help you plan better.
So, once they've had a look at all of that, what's next?
Well, I'd recommend setting up a habit of reviewing your portfolio quarterly. Just a quick look at how your investments are performing and if they align with your retirement goals.
That's a good habit to get into. And running those retirement projections regularly can really keep you on track. It's like a health check for your finances.
Yes, and speaking of health checks, it might also be a good time to assess your spending habits. Keeping track of expenses can reveal areas where you can cut back.
Right, and that aligns perfectly with the idea of living with low expenses. They could create a simple budget to see where their money is going.
And there are plenty of apps out there, like Mint or YNAB, that can help with budgeting. Just keeping it simple can lead to significant savings over time.
For sure, and let's not forget about education. There are some fantastic books out there on retirement planning, like The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
That's a great one. It really breaks down the concepts of investing in a way that's easy to understand. Another one I love is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin.
Oh, I love that one too. It really encourages you to think about your relationship with money and how to align your spending with your values.
Exactly. And there are also some excellent podcasts out there. Choosify is all about financial independence and has a lot of actionable advice.
Yes, I've listened to that one. They break down complex ideas into manageable steps. It's so inspiring to hear real-life stories.
It sure is. And you know, it's never too late to improve your plan. Even if someone is nearing retirement, making small adjustments can lead to significant benefits.
That's a really encouraging thought, David. Just making those small changes can add up over time. So, what do you think should be the next actionable step for someone listening right now?
I'd say start by running those retirement projections. Once they see the numbers, it can motivate them to take further action.
And if they find they're not where they want to be, they can brainstorm ways to increase their income or reduce expenses.
Absolutely. And setting up a meeting with a financial advisor can also be a great next step, just to get personalized advice tailored to their situation.
That's a solid idea. A professional can help clarify options and create a more detailed plan moving forward.
And I think, ultimately, it's about taking control of your financial future, bit by bit. So those are some practical first steps. Now, let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, as we wrap up today's discussion on how to retire early with low expenses, I think there are a few key takeaways that really stand out.
Absolutely, David. First off, we talked about the importance of budgeting, right? Keeping track of your expenses can really help you figure out what you truly need versus what you want.
Exactly. And that leads us to the second point. Prioritizing needs over wants. It's so easy to get caught up in lifestyle inflation, but being mindful about spending can make a big difference.
Right. And then there's the whole idea of finding alternative income streams, like part-time work or side gigs, which can help bridge the gap without significantly impacting your retirement lifestyle.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the benefits of downsizing, whether it's your home or just your overall possessions. Simplifying your life can not only reduce expenses, but also lead to a more fulfilling retirement.
Definitely, and all these strategies really boil down to being intentional about your financial choices. You're setting yourself up for a retirement that aligns with your values and goals.
Well said, Emily. It's all about building and protecting that retirement wealth, so you can enjoy your golden years without financial stress.
Yes, and I encourage everyone listening to take a moment to reflect on what we discussed. Maybe jot down your biggest takeaway, or even a question you might have.
And if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's planning for or already in retirement.
Next time, we'll dive into how to structure your estate for wealth transfer. It's such an important topic that's often overlooked.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Me too. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.